Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, and challenging norms. Today, it's episode 43, and we are back with another goodie. And I don't know, at this point, you got to be obese because we are feeding you and feeding you well. This is part 2 of our conversation with Ian Lapham. In part 1, we dove deep on the cryptocurrency and blockchain underworld. It's a fascinating place with so much smarts and so much nonsense at the same time. And if you are interested in discerning where the smarts is, what to do with the nonsense, listen to that episode. It's fantastic. Today, we're building off of it and figuring out exactly how Ian got to that place in life and some of the interesting and counterintuitive tips and tactics that he has for you. Because a lot of us, maybe we're questioning what our route in life is. Well, Ian's figured it out, and he's figured out how he can distill that process for you. He has this weird route to college. He has this weird route to where he is now. And weird in the sense that no one's doing it, but it's so effective because you will learn by the end of this podcast how to figure out what the true route and purpose that you have in life is and how you can start moving towards it in a way that gets employers and people in that field to be reaching out to you to collaborate, to hire you, to have you hire them. It's fantastic. So listen to the end. I know you'll want to reach out to Ian at some point, so you can find him on Twitter at Ian Lapham, Lapham, and you can find his company Uniswap. It's uniswap.org. Oh, I'm so excited. I even texted Ian after the podcast. Like, Ian, this is one of those moments where I know that the trajectory of my own life has changed completely. And we'll see where it goes, but I'm already taking action on some of his suggestions. I think you will too. Listen to the end where it gets juiciest, but I'll let Ian explain the rest. This is episode 43 with Ian Lapham.
Hey, Ian, I was on Yam again at some point. And no, they had a checklist for getting over to Yam V2.
Oh man.
And like the last thing on there was like something Uniswap over. Is that you?
Yeah, that's us. All these things use Uniswap as the platform for exchange. So they're like the Coinbase.
Are you the only people doing that?
There's a couple people doing it, but we just do it better than all of them. So like we have like 100,000 active traders. Like the next best platform has like 600.
Oh, wow.
So we're just way better. Which
that sounds like you have, 98% of that.
Yeah, we have huge market share, which is great. Yeah.
Jesus. So we're gonna get into everything.
What's the agenda?
The agenda is Ian's life because we got into crypto. Connection's unstable. All right, I'm scared. I'm stopping the live stream. Just got to blue ball everybody out there. So here's what's going on. I'm gonna move out of my mom's house so I get some good Wi-Fi at some point. But Ian, we talked about crypto. We got to get into your whole backstory from the start because I kind of knew you in college. Don't really know you right now other than crypto. Belky had no idea who you were. He thought you were a high school friend. So take us back because college, I was like, all right, Ian's way too cool for Brown. What the fuck's going on? Did you get in on some like hockey scholarship and then drop the team? What were you like? Were you always like the cool kid in high school that just did sports and somehow got into Brown, or what was your deal?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, this will be fun. We'll start from the beginning. I don't know. In high school, I played sports. I was a hockey player, but I always worked hard. My school, I went to like a good public school outside of Boston. Not many people had ever gone to Ivy League schools from my school, but I worked hard. I got good grades. And when I was applying to college, for some reason, I didn't really care about it that much. I didn't put a ton of thought into it. I knew Brown was an Ivy League school. I'm like, all right, this is probably a good place to go. And kind of as a moonshot, I just applied early and I was like, let's see what happens. I wrote a weird essay. I did my essay in a bulleted list instead of actual paragraphs. And
This kid
apparently that
either
worked.
has some autism or
yeah, exactly. I don't know what it
But
was.
that's actually
is
super
this?
cool, super different.
Yeah, I was here. Yeah, I was thinking like, all right, this is a long shot because I didn't go to some crazy private school. I didn't, this wasn't in the plan really. And I was like, all right, let's make this weird. And then I got in. So
Early,
yeah,
locked and
so
loaded.
honestly, I never knew why. I guess I had good grades, but yeah, I wasn't like the private school kind of dude or no scholarships for sports or anything. Maybe I got lucky. I have no idea, but it worked out. So, that's kind of what happened.
What was it a bulleted list of?
So it was, I remember one of those questions was like, why brown, and I was like, brown's my favorite color, which was a lie. And all these other bulleted lists about like random brown facts I just Googled like the night before. Like
That's
they weren't
super
sentences.
interesting.
Yeah, they didn't have periods. Like I didn't even use apostrophes. Like it was a list, but it was long and strange. So maybe someone liked that. I don't know. I always wanted to find out like who read that and like why did they like that?
Yeah, I heard that you can ask. Oh, am I coming through? My connection was getting booty, so hopefully you hear me, or is this?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, that's good.
Yeah.
I heard that you can ask for your portfolio or whatever your application portfolio was, and like get their comments and feedback and stuff. Maybe not now because you graduated.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that like this kid's could be the quirkiest mother whatever we've ever seen.
I feel like that was some fake news going around.
No,
did anyone actually
real.
ever get that portfolio?
I think that might have been fake news too. I always wanted to, or for someone who didn't get in, like if they're just mean with the comments or something. I don't know. It's like when you're in a frat and you're like,
well, yeah, it's like kind of the university's trade secret. Like, I don't see any reason why they would give that. I guess it's your essay, but why would they ever divulge that portfolio back to the student?
Yeah, because you could hack it and optimize for
the bullets.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Everyone starts doing bullets.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No, but if Ian saw the notes they wrote on his application, right, he could turn around to 10 people from his high school and be like, "Let me show you how to get it done."
I would sell
There's
it.
There's a lot of weird shit though that people just don't do. And like credit card perks and stuff like that, like so much weird stuff that you're allowed to do that people just don't know. Regardless, you didn't expect to get in. That's kind of weird for someone who's a stud in high school, crushing classes, and then just kind of throws to the moonshot and gets in.
Yeah.
One real quick, I realized because I was stalking your Facebook pretty in depth.
Nice.
Your high school team was dope, right? With hockey, especially.
Yeah, we were the best in the state. We won. We were the best.
Why didn't you show up in college and have some of that? You were just barely sliding around.
Yeah, I wasn't that bad in college. But no, I was like, all right, how am I gonna win long term? If I wanted to be a real athlete, varsity kind of thing, I'd have to spend a lot of time on it. So I made the choice right there. I'm like, all right, this is not a thing that I do seriously anymore, which was sad. I still play, and love it for the sport, but
it's sad because Dylan took it really seriously.
Yeah. I was offended.
I mean, you were good.
I was. We were all good back in the day. Yeah. So you kind of gave up the one. Hold on, let me, Belky. I'm gonna be back. Let me check this.
We're so gonna lose you.
He's out.
Ian, every few podcasts we do, it's usually with a guest. Dylan freezes, and he's the host, so then he's just leaving the co-host to it.
Training for you.
Okay, so it is good training. That's what I was saying before we hopped on. Is this podcast ends up consuming a lot of my time, but I don't mind it because I feel like it is training for I think it's good to be able to talk to people. Okay, so you head off to Brown early. Bravo. I applied early. It was deferred. No, I wasn't devastated.
You made it.
Made it. And you enter as economics, right? We briefly talked about that yesterday. What I kind of forget, if you could briefly, what was the rationale for going from economics to CS?
Yeah.
All right, Belky, let me just cut Belky off. All right. This is really frustrating.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
All right. As long as you can hear me, I just see you react visually. Whoever's cutting this is gonna have a ball. But here's what I wanted to understand, because you mentioned yesterday, Ian, was you came in and you're like, I'm just going to Brown kind of but you wanted to start a business. And most people don't do that. They're like, oh, I'm going to Brown because I want to be a doctor. I need this. Whereas you had like the kind of lax approach to it. Did you just want entrepreneurship? Did you have an idea in mind that you wanted to test? What was going through your head then?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of strange. When I went off to school, I knew, I mean, like you said, a lot of kids go to these types of places with a very specific path. Like they want to become like investment bankers or like consultants. I mean, maybe I'm biased because these are the people that I know more than some of the other fields. But it's kind of like a thing you do. Like you go to like a really good school and then you go do one of those jobs that are really hard to get. I didn't even know what those jobs existed when I got into college. I always thought when I got there, I wasn't sure if I would graduate because I was like, I don't care about any of this. Like at one point I was considering doing music full time. I was kind of a producer at the time, like making music. So I was like, am I going to do that? And then I was kind of like, I'm also into business. I didn't know what business meant back then. Everyone says the word business, like I'm into business, but that doesn't actually mean anything. So that's kind of where it was as a freshman, like floating with no idea whatsoever what I wanted to do. Learned more about startups, and as a side effect, got into tech. I'd always been like into the internet and like weird things on the internet, but like as I started learning more about what startups were and how like people could build things with small teams, I got into tech. And then after about 2 years, I was coding and I was like, this is a really powerful thing. I can build stuff with a very small team of people. This is what I want to do. So at that point, I was like, all right, now I might as well get this degree as some signaling power. All right, if I'm here, I got to do something with it. I can't just take a random assortment of classes, like you have to do something. So I was like, I'm not going to drop out because I love this place. And I was like, all right, so a CS degree is probably the most effective use of my time. So I kind of just figured it out naturally over the course of like 2 years. But when I got there, I had no idea, no clue.
What's so interesting is
because I'm trying to
you were so late to what, Dylan? Well, I like you didn't know what a startup was.
Can someone fix this damn Wi-Fi?
Was that 2015?
Like 5 years ago, yeah.
What do you want, Dylan?
I'm just getting fed up because I can't listen to Belky ask questions. They're so stupid.
Is your AC on?
No, I'm joking.
Is your AC on?
Oh, that's a good point. Related, like how do you come in not caring? Because so many people care so much. Like, what is that? Just from birth, you were like this nonchalant kid?
Yeah, no, this is weird, and maybe you can help me figure this out. I've never really understood. So in high school, I still have these friends. We were definitely like in quotes weird. Like we did kind of our own thing. At the same time, like I also had normal friends, like people, not normal, but like, I don't know, people who like jocks and that kind of thing. But my core group, we were always like into just weird stuff, like making music or like doing weird things on the internet, like stuff like that. I don't know, kind of like a creative bunch. And like, I was just kind of always into building things. And I never I always knew I could just do it myself. So I never viewed like a degree or anything as something I needed. Like I never thought that I needed this in order to build something. I always knew I could just do it and figure it out. So maybe that's why I didn't care. But at the same time, I always worked really hard. Like I got good grades, like like mostly A's. So like I think it's just like if I'm gonna be forced to do something, I'm gonna do it well, for the most part. So I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just like doing the creative stuff. Yeah, I never took the degree too seriously. Also, a thing is like in tech, it doesn't matter as much. If you want to go do finance, I think finance is really cool. Like you can do some awesome stuff with it. If you're going to do that, you need to take your degree a little more seriously, or if you want to be a doctor, something like that. But for tech, it doesn't matter. So I don't know. That's kind of like where I was.
Yeah, I think well, one, I think connection is going to be getting better and better, but I think it does matter where you're going with your degree, because yeah, we like preach certain things like stop caring as much about, having your life figured out at 23, 24, 25, whatever. But at the same time, like when you need certain prerequisites to get a job in finance, it makes sense. But it's nice because you have this one creative job, and then that enables you, especially when you what do you call that, when you like coalesce with other people at John Hancock and you can leave, you have like that power to just kind of bounce around together. So is that why it was so easy for you to leave there and kind of take jobs as not as serious as most people?
Yeah, I think the key here, or like the way I view it for myself, is like the job. Like don't ever be defined by the job that you have. It's more about your process and your skills. Like the way I view it is fall in love with your process only, and only identify with your process. So if you get really good at a process that you like, you're going to, as a side effect, get a lot of skill and power to do things. So what that looks like for me is every day, I wake up and I do the same thing. I learn about a very specific topic. And if I don't, every day I learn more. And for me, it's crypto. For you guys, it might be something different. For anyone else, it might be something different. And the way I learn it, like it works for me. And I do it every day. And that's my process. Like, and sometimes I'm doing work, sometimes I'm reading for myself, but I do that every single day. And eventually, as a side effect, you just get really good at the thing. If you do one thing every day, you're going to learn a lot about it. And after like 3/4 of a year, you're going to know more than almost anyone else. And then that's when you're in the position to, if someone like a John Hancock says, no, we want to do it this way, you can just say no, because I'm going to, I actually believe that there's a better way to do this. And I'm going to go find someone that supports that thesis. So I think that's what gives you the power to kind of not care, in quotes. It's because it's because you believe in your own ability to do it. And I think the way to get there is by the process. So that's the thing. Like I never was like, I'm a John Hancock employee and this is me. Like that's what I do. Like even now, I'm not like, I'm an employee here, I run this. It's like, this is the way I work and that's what I do. And as a result, I'm doing work with these people in these organizations. But like it's just like, it's a way to do things every day where it's not stressful, and you wake up like 2 years later and you're like, whoa, I got a lot done. So I don't know. That's kind of like how I view it.
And not so you got a lot done, but like you said, it's like you're in love with your process and what you do and who you are at Uniswap. But like that's malleable, and that can go from place to place over time. And maybe in 5 years you wake up and it's something different.
Exactly.
But that's yeah. Go ahead.
That's the key for me, especially as like a software engineer. It's when I say the process, it's literally like how do I block out my time each day? And for me, it's like I wake up, drink coffee, and then I code for 6 hours, 7 hours, and then the rest of the night it's either like I don't know, having fun or doing something normal, or just learning about something I don't understand and want to get better at. So yeah, you have that system in place. And when you get tired of the situation you're in, you just pick it up and move it somewhere else. So like whether it's at Uniswap or my own thing or John Hancock, it's the same every day. It's just in a different context, you know?
And I think that's what so many people run into is, like you say, they go to John Hancock or something, they identify as this John Hancock person. And then it's like, what sellable skills do you have when you're ready to pick up and leave? Like you have everything with you in your suitcases, like your process, everything you do each day, and like you're ready to go wherever. If you were Uniswap and Uniswap only, then what? Like you can market yourself as Uniswap on your resume, but like what does
Yeah,
that mean? What is Ian actually good at?
exactly. I think a lot of, and that's my issue with like a lot of this stuff with like focusing a lot on your degree and stuff. Like you don't want to identify with your achievements
Mm.
because the second you're asked to do anything else, it becomes irrelevant. It like, like it gets you in the door for sure. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that going to Brown didn't help me at all. That's ridiculous. Like, of course it helps. But once you're in the door, it's like, all right, now what? Oh,
It's
like I have this ability to do things.
it's just curiosity too. It's like English students being like, I don't do like my brain doesn't do math. It's like, or vice versa, STEM students being like, I don't read or I like can't write a poem. It's like you have to just have a curiosity about everything you do. Dylan, we talked about this too, how much you hate labeling. Like if we were like, Dylan, you're an introvert, then you just become that thing. All the negative things, maybe some good things, but it's just like,
Well, that's everything is self-fulfilling, and yeah, we talked about this a lot. But if you just identify as the self-starter, that you have your little suitcase of skills, and you can pick it up and go anywhere. That's the most powerful negotiating tactic, and just kind of like empowering set of skills that you can
and
have.
then
So
Ian, like you said, the confidence. John Hancock's like, we don't want that. And you're like, okay, I'll just take my suitcases and I'll go do it somewhere else and I'll do it better.
Yeah.
And my buddies.
Yeah. And my friends, and we're out. No, but that's it. And the key, I think, is like actually, okay, maybe in the first couple months, you lie to yourself, like, this is the thing I do now. And like, you're not going to be great at it. But like I said, if you do it every day, it doesn't matter what you do. You can do anything unless you're like 5'1", you want to be a basketball player. Like maybe you can't do that. But like, for the most part, if you do something every day for a long time, like a matter of months every day, you're going to get good. And then you have real confidence. And then you like actually believe what you're saying when you're like, I'm going to pick up and move. Because if you don't actually believe in yourself, you're going to be really stressed out all the time. And,
Yeah.
but it's fine to do that for a couple months because that's how you get there, right? Like fake it, be stressed out for 2 months. And then you're going to be like, wait, whoa, all right, I actually know what I'm doing now. Like,
I found that with kids at Brown, especially junior year when internships are coming around, they're like, I know I'm good at stuff. I just don't know what it is and how to prove it. And like then they just kind of stumble into whatever their path is, and they get really railroad tracks on that path. So
yeah.
I think it is important. Maybe the creative side is nice because you can build your portfolio, or you can say, hey, I built this website, like check it out. That's my proof of work. Whereas it's a little bit harder maybe in other industries. But
Yeah.
is that what would you recommend people, say in college or in our position, do to have more leverage like you do?
Yeah. So I think, and that's true. Like it is, I will acknowledge if you're doing something that is tipped more towards the creative side, it's easier to signal your ability. It's very easy to say, look at what I did. If you're doing something within a larger organization, it starts to become more kind of like abstract. But I think the key is, yeah, okay, for me, as part of this backpack, we're talking about that pick up and move. It's my ability to code. But for some people, it's the ability to learn a process and execute. So even if you're in finance, make the thing you're doing every day is learning about your organization and then performing within it. So, you can say, hey, I entered into this hierarchy of people, I was able to quickly understand how it works together, and then I was able to quickly perform at whatever it is that you're doing, and that's a skill in itself. And then you can say, maybe I'm not as interested in that, but look at how quickly I got in there and did a good job. I will now go do that somewhere else. So learning itself can be the skill. It doesn't have to purely be production or creation, I think.
How do you prove that though? You just tell them what you learned from the last company? Like you give them a list of everything?
Yeah, see, I think that's hard. At some point, you do have to nail down what you did. So, like, I think in every place, if you actually did something, you should be able to explain what it was. Hopefully, I know it's like in some situations, it's like, we keep talking about finance, but like, it's harder to do that sometimes because sometimes you're not asked to do as much as you could. So, um, I would say always have that in mind. Push yourself to produce something so that you can point at it as a signal as much as you can. It is harder sometimes, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, I find myself, I guess we're talking about finance, but say, I think Graham Duncan, that's his name. He, East Rock Capital, is it? East Rock. Like I was just reading his blog the other day, and it's a super simple, it's only like 10 articles, but they're in depth. They prove his knowledge and ability to discern what's good and what's bad in the investment field.
Yeah.
So if you just have that little portfolio of everything you learned,
Yeah.
Granted, you're not giving away secrets from the company, but I think that's so powerful to point people towards that.
Definitely.
Or
yeah.
Whatever else.
Writing is key. My friend who I'm running this dev studio with, I met him. His name's Brian Flynn. I met him because he was writing a newsletter in crypto. So when I was getting into crypto, I was following all these newsletters, right? Because I wanted to just get people's takes like frequently. And he was writing a newsletter that I thought was really good. I saw him at a conference. I was like, "Oh, you're Brian. Like you write the thing, right?" And then we just became friends, and now we talk every day about random things. But this is a perfect example. He didn't actually like his job at the time. He was not doing a lot. He wasn't asked to do a lot. So instead, he was writing every week. And now he can get any job anywhere because he has this, 2-year long list of thoughts and research that he's done, and people just come up to him, and he has all these Twitter followers now, and like they just say, "Hey, you're Brian, like you're a smart guy." And I'm messaging him sometimes, and he's like, "Dude, sometimes I have no idea what I'm saying. I just throw it out there. I have no idea what I'm doing." But everyone else is like, "All right, you actually put some time into something." So I think writing is a good option. If you like are learning about things, write them down, like, and do it every week, and then people will just respect that.
I've been looking into this, and Belky and I were actually talking this morning about. Sorry, I keep saying Belky, but Henry and I were talking this morning about status and status signaling with, say, the best way to get connected with people, say in crypto or whatever world, is through Twitter, especially if you have that blue check mark next to your name.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's so powerful. So maybe writing, and you don't want to set up a blog, but put like 3 smart tweets out a day,
Yeah.
and then build a following around you.
I got my job on Twitter. I got DM'd by my boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Twitter is huge in every emerging industry. So whether you're in, I'm in the e-commerce Twitter niche a little bit. Obviously in the crypto Twitter, there's like some cool like niche health Twitters. Like there's all these little circles that exist within Twitter, and you find them, and it's huge. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I literally, when I was getting into crypto, I just made an account and I just started tweeting with people about crypto like every day. And then eventually my boss posted something, I liked it, and then he DM'd me and he's like, "Do you want an interview?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that's how I ended up
That's so
there.
foreign to me. When you say you're in these Twitter circles, do you mean you're tweeting about them, or like you're just crossing paths with those people? Like, what were you tweeting at the time?
Yeah. If you want to, like, literally what this looks like, and everyone who like ever asks me like advice for tech, this is what I tell them, but it's not just tech, it's almost anything. So literally what that looks like is you literally start with one person who you think has good tweets about whatever it is that you're interested in, one person, and then look at who they follow and tweet at and, have threads with. Start with one and then slowly be very picky with who you follow. Like, don't follow like, just people with trash takes and like nonsense memes or whatever. Memes are for Instagram. Memes are great, but they're for Instagram. And slowly build up this list of people who like seem smart and like communicate with each other and are tweeting frequently. And then literally just start replying to them with your own thoughts, and they'll reply back. Especially in a lot of these fields, they're still small. Find the smaller influencers. Don't follow the people with 1 million followers. Follow the people with 1,200 followers. Tweet at them and do that every day for a couple months, and eventually a bunch of people are going to follow you back, and when you tweet, they're going to communicate with you, and one day you're just going to wake up and you're going to be in the circle. It just happens. So like literally like it just, like that's what it is. Like don't follow the people with 1 million followers. Don't tweet at them. It's useless. Go for the people with less than 5K and literally just communicate with them. And it's organic.
That's so funny because one, I love how tactical that is, and like I want to do this. I'm not in the Twitter realm. I just put up a story asking people on Instagram, like, "Hey, do you use Twitter?" Because this is so foreign to me. But it seems fascinating. And Henry and I talked about before, where you can contact, say, like email an Olympic silver medalist from like the 2004 Olympics, and probably get them to respond. Because it's like a person with less than 5,000 Twitter followers, but they could still be the top of the field. They're just unknown to everyone else. So that's such an interesting backdoor, and you're just constantly talking back and forth.
And you're in. Yeah, it's so cool. Literally this morning. So yeah, I'm into crypto, and something I'm starting to learn a bit more about, just in my own curiosity, is e-commerce and like DTC brands that like run their brands through Instagram and Twitter. And this guy, his name is Colton. Do you know Camelbacks, like the backpacks you wear with water in them? You know how people go to raves, need those because they're on drugs and they'll die if they don't. So like,
this is true.
But he one day this guy figured out that like, all right, no one wants to wear these boring like black Camelbacks. Like they want crazy designs on them. So he made this brand with, it's just Camelbacks with like trippy things on them. And it blew up. His brand got crazy. He was doing like, $2 million a year in sales on his personal brand. Like I think they sold the thing to Nordstrom's or something. And this guy has like, when I started following, I had like 2,000 followers, and I DM him with questions, and he just answered me. And it's like, like it's literally someone who has like achieved the dream, and you can ask them anything you want. Like that's the beauty of Twitter.
Fuck.
It's
mind
insane.
blowing.
Yeah. Like why would you get it? I mean, I think MBAs are cool for some things, but why would you get that when you can just ask someone questions like in a chat? Like, I don't know. Like,
right. You could probably talk to 100 Harvard MBAs that are just not super well known, but completely competent in their field.
And create an MBA out of it.
Literally. Yeah.
That'd be a good book. Yeah. The Twitter MBA.
There are people who write, they do mini courses in threads on Twitter now. Like they'll be like, this is the course.
Well, that was Naval's podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, we talk a lot about.
You know Naval Ravikant?
Oh yeah, I love Naval. Yeah, he's great.
Okay. Yeah, because we stumbled across that not because of his Twitter, but because of the podcast, which was just expanding on his Twitter and all his posts there. That's where it started.
What was it? How to become wealthy without getting lucky? Tweet storm.
Exactly. That's like the best tweet storm. He was the thing that actually got me into Twitter, because he's like fringe involved with crypto. He's a big investor in a lot of crypto projects. But yeah, he got me into Twitter with I think it was that thread actually. But it's good stuff. It's gold. It's gold.
What was so marketable about what you were doing on Twitter that your boss now wanted to reach out to you to hire you? Did you have some crazy take?
Honestly, it was just like...
Was this your friend? No.
So yeah, for context here, my friend hired me at John Hancock, but this was his name's Hayden Adams. He's the CEO of Uniswap. He we got connected on Twitter. I think in general, it's like some people, yeah, have these like awesome takes, but those are like the geniuses that just they're discovering these crazy things that no one else knows. Like I'm not that guy on Twitter, but I think so you could be that person. Like if you literally just know more than anyone else in the world about something, just spit knowledge bombs. That could be your thing. Or just be a known face. Like pick an avatar that is weird or like very noticeable. You'll see a lot of these people don't even have their faces. They'll just have like Kanye's is like this weird sphere, right? But like Naval's is that weird drawing, and like you're like, oh, every time you see that, you're like, I remember that. But anyway, if you get in the threads often enough, you just become known as someone who's like in the community, and they're not an outsider. Like they know about what's going on, and like obviously you need to like not be an idiot when you're tweeting, but like I never even said anything that was like oh, like this is like an amazing piece of knowledge. No, I'm just usually just agreeing with someone in a reply. Like you don't even have to. You can even fake all this, like And after 3 months, they're just like, oh, yeah, that's Ian. He's that guy, and they're like, this guy is serious about this.
Wow.
It's cool because I think compared to maybe Facebook with Facebook groups, but it's much more of a community, it seems like, in Twitter. And maybe that's why I don't know, because I've been in the out group. I think Henry has too. And then once you get in, you're like, oh, it's so interconnected. But you have Instagram, and that's just kind of blasting out content. It's not as tight knit. Facebook, not so much. Is that why Twitter appeals to you? Because you can talk about all these subjects in depth with these people?
Yeah. I cannot bet. I say this to people like in person all the time. Like, get on Twitter. I love Twitter, which is like a weird thing to say, right? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to love Twitter that much. But like,
yeah, like, are you getting paid for this, Ian? What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm like a brand rep. But no, seriously, it's the ability you can have conversations with strangers on the internet and publicly. Though that's the beauty of it. Like, you could do all these things in a Telegram group chat, but there's no brand building around that. You're not building your brand because you are with these individual people, but Twitter lets you do this at scale, because if one reply that you make gets like 10 likes and retweeted, then 100 people have just seen your face and your name. And that's kind of what it comes down to. Selfishly, it's like brand building. At the same time, you're having conversations with cool people in like a public forum. So yeah, like it's huge. If you're doing anything that's like anything relatively fringe, it's almost anything though. I'm like would struggle to find a career path or something where there's not a Twitter community for it.
Like where, for example, what's interesting to me is just connecting with people in their 20s that are into entrepreneurship and starting their own companies or doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I don't know, I haven't explored enough, but I'm sure you could find, maybe there's some group within that has people talking about this stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah. After this, I'm going to send you the list. Like that's the other beauty of Twitter. You make lists of people, and it's literally what I'm talking about. Like,
so what do you have a list of?
So I have different lists. There's like a crypto list. So like the people, and it is usually that demographic, like young founders. A lot of them are founders, or people, a lot of them are working for themselves. And I'll classify them. Like, it's kind of weird to classify people in buckets, but like, these are generally people that do crypto stuff. And then there's e-commerce people, and these people are running their own businesses on Instagram. And all these people have like less than 5K followers for the most part. And yeah, like there's buckets for each. Yeah. And there's so many of the people like our age doing their own thing on Twitter. Like it's insane, but you can get, even after like a couple weeks of like replying and liking, you'll just like start getting mentioned by these people who like you want to be like, and then you just talk to them, and then you're just friends with them, and then you have like an actual question about business and they'll answer it. It's like this is a hack. Like, I don't know how many people know
Why
this.
isn't this talked about enough though? I don't think anyone our age, like probably 90% aren't into Twitter as much as they should be.
Yeah. Like you can use like a lot of people just tweet nonsense, which I mean, I love memes and like shit posts as much as the next person, but like you use it as a tool. It's insane. Yeah. It's like, it's nuts. And you build a brand about it. Like you make your bio and then you pick your photo and you keep it the same for 2 years straight and you put the same emoji. It's going to teach you about marketing too. Like if people aren't liking your things and you change something and they start liking it, it's subconsciously, you're going to be like, all right, I'm starting to connect with people now. It's like such a crash course in like game theory, marketing, branding, like writing, copywriting, everything. It's like, God, man, I'm just ranting about Twitter, but it's sweet. Like everyone should do this.
It's been invisible. And actually our friend that was on, he was on episode 37. His name's Avtar. Smart dude, computer science from Princeton. And now he got into crypto world too. And I'm sure at one point there's probably some crossing of paths too between you two somehow. But it's fascinating because he raves about Twitter. That's his number one social media. And like when you sent me, I'm like, Ian, what do you want us to mention about you? You just have your Twitter handle, and that's enough. And it's fascinating. Like, is that what you're actively trying to still build and work on?
Definitely. I think long term, like in today's day and age, the micro brand is everything. And like you guys are already doing it right here, right now. Like as the internet gets bigger and bigger and everything gets more connected, people are like starving for real, like organic content. Like people are just like so sick and tired of being fed things from these big accounts and these big flashy attention grabbing stories. And like people are just literally sick of it. Like they're addicted and like it hurts their face. And like if you can just connect with like a real human who's just tweeting their actual thoughts, it's like such a wake up call. So if you can, and that's just gonna keep happening. Like we're getting sick of the internet, but if we can find real people, they just flock to you. So like, yeah, building the personal brand is something I want to keep doing forever. And like my friend Brian's like, 3 steps ahead. He writes a newsletter every week, like I said. Now he just monetized it and he's making like $3,000 a month just writing on Substack, right? Which is amazing because you can just do research, give people value. One guy bought like a year-long membership for $1,000 or something, like, and he doesn't even know him. And like he's only been writing for like a year and a half. So like that's what you can do here.
And that that just compounds because you already built the base. Yeah. And then you just have an archive or something, people find it.
Yeah.
It just builds on itself.
Especially if you're working for yourself or want to eventually, like once your following gets big enough, you hit them with it and you're like, hey, this is what I've been doing. And a lot of them will already know your brand from there and they'll just hop into whatever you're doing. So yeah, that's my thing. Like I don't have a website. I don't give people a link, none of that. It's just go to my Twitter. That's me on the internet. And like, that's my hub forever. For now, I guess, until something better comes.
At Ian Lapham.
Yeah, at Ian Lapham. Yeah, plug.
There you go.
But
is that what you would recommend then most people do even before, like we normally preach a website, but this is probably easier to get started with if that's a big barrier to entry.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, making a good website, all these tools pop up, but I would still argue it's hard to do. It's like to really like our eyes are so trained for good design these days. Like if you go from a app that's like, big app, Instagram, to something that's made by like an indie developer, immediately your brain's just like, oh, this sucks. Like this is so crappy. Or like the second you go to a crappy website, you don't know why. It could be 99% good, but subconsciously you're going to be like, this is not great. So I'm not saying don't build websites. Definitely do that, but you're going to have to spend some time to make it good. But Twitter, like there's nothing. Like you just had to nail like 3 things. It's like the bio, your picture, and the background. That's it. And another like weird little brand hack that's been going on the last like couple months is making your handle your website name. So it's like double. So like instead of Ian Lapham as my handle, it would be ianlapham.com. So it's on Twitter and then it's like double brand explosion. I don't have a website, so I don't know. In general, get on Twitter, get into the weird micro niches you're into, and just live there for a while.
Like, I can picture that just being a 30-minute video, but just this whole thing. Hopefully not, the frame rate's not all fucked up, but
yeah, right. I mean,
the content's there for the audio.
Yeah.
So that's probably to keep people kind of still exploring and really connecting with communities they wouldn't. You'd say Twitter. Is there anything else that like maybe you're doing that most people don't that you think is useful?
Yeah, I think it's kind of related to this, but I mean, I think the first step to all of this, and I only started seeing like good progress when I did this, is actually sit down and figure out what you want to do. Like, I feel like most people never take a full day to sit down with a pen and be like, what do I want to do? Like, which is crazy, right? Like, how do we not do that? But like, I feel like you could go anywhere right now and ask anyone if they know what they want to do for the next 3 years. No one's gonna have an answer for you. Like, they'll be like, oh, I don't know, like maybe this. Like,
wake up tomorrow and then the next day happens. You know,
and that's crazy. How do you, like, human beings are, the way we're built is goal and then steps to achieve that. That's the only, and we just repeat that forever, like until we die. That's the way we're built. And like, if you want to get anywhere, you got to figure out where you're going first. So, I mean, this sounds a little cliche, but literally, first step one, sit down for a day, like turn your phone off and make sure your parents aren't home, and like get a piece of paper and just write down, like figure it out. And once you do that, you're going to get closer, and then kind of fine tune that. And it doesn't even have to be for life. It could just be like for the next like 9 months, what do I kind of want to do? And then once you have that, then you can do the things we are just talking about. Then you can kind of be like, all right, so what are the little communities on Twitter, for example, that would help this? And then the next thing, to answer what you just asked, is start actually just talking to these people on the internet. So in crypto, this all lives in Telegram. I don't know, in some other community. Do you know that app, Telegram? It's like, it's just like a messaging app. I don't know why that's the thing in crypto that everyone uses. I guess it's like, you're not going to text.
It's anonymous.
Yeah, it's anonymous. You can make a username, whatever. Start messaging a few people. So that's what I did with Brian. Like, I talk to him every day, and like, you just start, because now you're kind of in two networks. So like, everything new in his network that happens, he tells me, and everything in mine, I tell him. So we're just like learning twice as fast as everyone else. And then do that with like 10 people you really think are smart and that you actually like get along with. Don't just be like a weird networker, like leech, like actually be friends with these people. And that's the next thing. So, it's easier said than done, but slowly find the people you jive with in these things you're trying to do, and just start chatting with them, like, every day. And then before you know it, they're going to be like, oh, like this thing just came up. Do you want to work on this with me? And that's what happened with my friend Brian and what we're doing next. So yeah, I would do that. And that's like, and all these things, like, this isn't like a 5-year thing. I'm talking like 4 months. Just write it down and try it for like, a couple months. If you hate it, or like it's really not doing it for you, maybe do something else. But
well, you should be, if you're really passionate about your community and what you're into after doing the paper exercise. Like, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want my legacy to be.
Yeah.
And this is the community that's going to get me there. You should care about it and want to participate and want to know these people more and go to Colombia with them and just party or wherever in the world.
Raise with them, yeah.
Right. So it all makes sense. And it's funny because I've talked about this before too. For me, it was the 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah, I love that book. Yeah.
Yeah, that book. I've never done exercises in a book before, but for some reason I sat down and did my fear setting exercise. I did, I forget what they call it, but like the new wealth, like how much money do you really need? And I just took a couple days, a weekend, to sit down and think about where I want to chart my life. And I realized the direction I was heading was completely the opposite. Mm-hmm. So it's so rare that people do that, but they spend 18 years getting into the best college they can and 0 time thinking about the rest of their life.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
So that's awesome. Because I'm like so curious when people do this. Like, did you notice, like for me, it can, like, you can even be wrong as long as you're moving forward somewhere for like a little bit. So for me, when I really was like, all right, I want to take this crypto stuff seriously. It's going to make me smarter. It's creative. I like it. I could do this for my 20s. Like, this is what I could do for my 20s. Maybe not for my life, but like, the second I did that, I noticed that I just stopped doing things that didn't matter. I stopped like, it sounds like
right. I took all my classes SNC.
Yeah, right.
For the second half of college.
There you go. That's amazing. Yeah. Like, you just stopped doing dumb shit. So did that happen to you? Like, there was like a side effect for me. I didn't even like actively try to do this, but it just happened.
It did for me. Henry, did you have, well, you read it later. You didn't read it till I convinced you.
I just read it a number of months ago, and that's already happening. I'm like, okay, I'm laser focused on this thing. And then like you say, it seems magical, right? But all the bullshit, like everything you're talking about just like stops happening and you stop caring about it. It just disappears. And you're like, okay, this might work.
Yeah. Like I always say, like the focus, like no one is good at focusing. You're only good at removing distractions. Like focus is literally just the absence of distraction. You can't be good at focusing. Like that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as focusing. It's just not being distracted. So when you know where you're going, like you just said, these things just kind of fall away. So like if you were spending like another thing here is just like tracking your time. Like you'll find that like some people are spending like an hour a day watching like food videos on YouTube, and then you're just kind of like, wait, like that's interesting, but like when you know what you want to do, that you just stop doing that. And or like Netflix is cool, but like if you're just hopping from show to show 3 hours a day, one day you're just kind of like, that's not what I'm going to do every day. So I don't know, it's like you just become less distracted. And
was that the book that did it for you, or what? Because you were kind of already like this, obviously bulleting a college essay from the start, but
yeah,
what helped you towards this path?
I think it was honest, and that books like that I actually think are great. They shift your mental models a little bit. I wouldn't say it was one specific thing, but it was the collection of books like that. So the thing written by people who have actually done it, like, not New York Times bestseller person that's just an author. Like, get it from someone who like has built businesses or like is an athlete or something. And then I think it was just the accumulation of like, I switched my consumption to things that were like that. So there's a lot of small YouTubers. Some of them are in like the e-commerce guru type niche, and like sometimes they're full of shit, but sometimes they're also good at just kind of like yelling at you. It's weird, but like, a YouTuber will just kind of be like, stop being an idiot. And then you're kind of like, oh wait, yeah. And then a lot of the other stuff recently I found through people on Twitter, back to that. But, they just say, you'll talk to these people, you'll see their thoughts, and they're just like, they'll just say like, this is the thing I stopped doing and it worked for me. And then you can try that. So I wouldn't say it's one specific thing, but switching your consumption to like things that actually have a little bit of thought put into them is probably good. Obviously you don't want to, I think you can also fall into a trap of like learning how to be effective and then not being effective. So that's dangerous as well. But,
yeah, we've talked about that a lot with, not learning versus being, but, like being effective and just doing the right things. Like right now we're chatting in our, in our rooms. Like people are like, oh, they're just talking and stuff, but like we're just effective with the hours that we have, and then we have time for this, which is just cool brain blast, like talk about cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's so massive too, beyond effectiveness, to curate your community around you, and that's why Twitter's awesome with the lists. You're just surrounded by people that are doing exactly what you want to do, and now it's not so crazy, so foreign that you're like, oh, this guy did it, and I'm talking to him. I'm friends. Like, why can't I do that?
Exactly. That's the key.
It's hard though to find that outside of Twitter, unless you're into Reddit. I'm never going into Reddit or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Or were you an entrepreneur? Sorry to jump in again. Were you in entrepreneurship groups at Brown? Because I know you were kind of into that stuff.
I was.
Did that help?
Yeah, Brown, I was like the marketing lead for the Brown Entrepreneurship Program.
Mm.
There's like a lot of club hockey people that ended up doing that, which is cool. There's actually a lot of entrepreneurs that are on club hockey. The guy, I forget his name, that started. I even forget what he did. I don't think you were ever there while he did it. All right, there's one guy ran one business. I think another guy runs. Did
Well, we
Devin
even
play
had
hockey? I'm going on a
Devin
tangent.
who?
The guy from OpenSea. Is he a club hockey dude?
Oh no, Finzer. No, I just met him in New York.
Okay.
Randomly.
Anyway, that's a tangent. I was on the Brown Entrepreneurship Program, and that was big. So like, I don't think those things will get you all the way, but they will get you into the doors, and you're just going to start under, like, it's all about reframing your context of what is out there, and that's a great one, because these people they'll have their own little communities and links and things that they do, and you can just, they're generally self-selecting towards probably like the people you want to be like. So yeah, that's huge. I'm so into groups like that. It's just naturally better than not doing it. So yeah.
So to recap, the general steps someone should take is, one, sit down. Like, no matter where you're at, if you're feeling slightly uneasy about your place in life, sit down and think where you might want to go. Start experimenting with communities like that, whether it's in person, like maybe you're lucky in college still have these groups. Maybe you got to go on Twitter or some other medium, but you can find these people. They're out there. See what that world is like, and then build your portfolio over time, and you'll just have these spontaneous or seemingly spontaneous strikes of luck where people are like, hey, you want to come work for me?
Exactly.
And now you have a job and plus all this extra leverage.
Naval has, I forget what they are, but he lays out 4 different types of luck.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know like the first or the second one is like, if you're just running and running and running, it's something like stumbling upon luck.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
that's
it
what
looks
it is.
like luck, but it's really just like you've set out to do something. Like you said, you have a goal, you're a human being. And then on the way, just because you're out 16 hours a day doing it, like, yeah, you're bound to have some luck.
Exactly. Like, I don't like to get super like metaphorical and stuff sometimes, but like, if you're creating a lot of inertia and momentum,
Exactly.
it's just like, think about it from the highest level possible. It's just physics, right? Like, energy in is always energy out. And if you're really, giving your all in any certain direction, not just shotgunning 360, like, focus it a little bit, you're gonna get things attracted to you. And this is sounding like some nonsense, but literally, like,
well, isn't it the power of attraction, or don't they have something about this?
The secret, or the law of attraction, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think what all that actually is like a theoretical take on the things I literally described. So what it literally looks like is you wake up in your bed on your phone, and you like a bunch of tweets and you comment on the ones you think are interesting. This is like, no one says what this literally is, but this is literally what it is. You wake up and you do that, and then you go get your coffee, and you listen to a podcast, and you're like, all right, that was interesting. And then you sit down, and because you kind of know what you want to do, hopefully you have a plan for what you're going to do today. Hopefully you're sitting somewhere to do something, and then you do the thing. It could be dumb, you could be terrible at it, but you did it. And then meanwhile, you're on your phone and you like see a tweet you like and you like it. And then 2 weeks go by and someone's like, hit me up on Telegram, and then you're going to talk to them. And then 2 weeks later, you'll be talking to them every day. And then someone's going to tweet at both of you, and then you're going to get in a group call, and then you're going to be like, oh, I've been working on this for 2 months. It was kind of shitty, but it was fun. And they'll be like, oh, that's cool. I want to do this. Like, that's literally what it is, right? Like, that's actually what it is. So like, it may seem like some people read these things about like, yeah, network and get out there and do it, but they're like, that can't be real. No, it's mostly just checking your phone and sitting in a chair and like drink some coffee. But that's literally what
that's the thing,
right?
Naval, we're referencing him a lot, but Naval's like, all my community is just online. Like, I've just curated, these are all my friends, I'm talking to them, but that's my tribe of mentors, is all through Twitter. And it's just because he's, he wakes up, he's on Twitter a little bit in the morning, and then, keeps talking to them on whatever other Telegram.
Yeah. And as a side effect, you'll just get opportunities, and eventually you'll be confident enough about something where you'll just go do it on your own if that's what you want to do. Some people like working within teams. That's also good. For me, it's kind of like eventually I want to do my own thing, and build up a network and skill set. And then eventually you're just kind of like, all right, now I can go do this. And it doesn't seem ridiculous.
So say someone is into this and maybe they're into crypto too and they're listening and they're like, oh, Ian's got his own little dev shop where he's creating it. Like, would they reach out to you? Would you reach out to them? Like, how would that work? Are you trying to take on people?
Yeah. So
what's going on with you?
Yeah. If they're like, if they're a developer or designer or even like a business person, if they have like a skill set that's related to the field, it's literally just like, hit me up, tell me what you do. And then like, if it's good, eventually I'll be like, oh, I need someone for this. Like, can you help me out?
Right.
It also works the other way with clients. So they're kind of like, the clients are also the people on Twitter. So this dude you've been tweeting at will be like this is the beauty in crypto specifically. You're tweeting at CEOs and venture capitalists. Like, you're not tweeting with Joe Schmo, these people who are doing it.
Right.
And eventually, literally this morning, I could send you a screenshot. This guy who's like the CTO of this massive blockchain was like, hey, let's chat about you coming to do some work on this with Brian. And that's what happens. These things aren't like people in suits in a boardroom. It's someone who's going to say, hey, let's talk on the phone. And because like they know who you are and you've done stuff, then you have a client. Then it's like,
do you think that's unique to cryptos because it's so young and it's so new?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to lie and say if you're an investment banker, get on Twitter and you're just going to start doing ICOs or IPOs for people, right? Like, so yeah, no, it is. The more fringe you get, the more casual these things become, and the more internet native they become. So if you like that stuff, I recommend going to a fringe niche because it's more casual. Some people don't like that though. Some people like, traditional, hardworking, and like larger organizations. Like, I have friends who, we keep talking about the finance, but I do have some friends who like actually just love working hard within like a big system, and that's awesome. And if that's your thing, maybe in that scenario, you don't need it as much because you're not trying to build something from scratch. Like, I think this is more appropriate if you're trying to build something from scratch. Because,
but even. Yeah, you'll probably network within your company more. I hate that word network, but build connections and stuff like that with people.
Yeah. At least in entrepreneur circles, the going term now is building authentic relationships.
Yeah.
Not networking.
Yeah.
And
that's
all authenticity. That's why I like the podcast. It's all just shooting the shit. Like Ian and I know we probably we spent hours on hours just practicing together, etc. But we never talk about this stuff until you have the excuse of a podcast, which is dope. Like I'm obsessed with that idea.
That's the greatest part about this. Like, exactly. Like, we never talked about any of this, and then like now it's just like, whoa, we're in this context.
Right. We never knew.
Wow. Like, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I knew you were doing like videos and stuff that I thought were really funny back then, but I was like, I don't know. And then as a result, because these things are so organic, I feel like eventually, like, it grows bigger and bigger. Well, so
why don't you start your own little crypto podcast? I'm sure there are some out there. Yeah. But like, you already have the mic. I mean, granted, it doesn't work half the time, but I feel like that'd be sick too.
Yeah.
Unless they already have it.
Yeah. My friend Brian, I keep talking about him. He's doing a podcast now too. So maybe I might.
Does he have a Twitter handle?
Yeah, he's Flinjamin. I might have to put that in the show notes. Pick a name that's easy to spell. Flinjamin is his name. Yeah, I've thought about the podcast. See, here's my issue with crypto. I've been talking about it a lot. I also hate it. I like a lot of it. Like, I think a lot
in the 11th hour.
Yeah, I think some things are great. I think what Uniswap does is real. I think some things are real. I think a lot of it is nonsense and trash and like weird and like, so it's good and bad. And I think one day, like, maybe I want to get out of purely crypto. I love crypto for some things. I just like software in general. So,
do I have a job for you?
No, that's interesting. I'll help you out.
I feel like a lot of people are probably in a similar boat though, right? Because kind of like the Smart Nonsense podcast, like you have the smart side, the nonsense side, and there are smart people there that are sick of the nonsense, but they just appreciate the technology. So maybe they're going to migrate to outside of it. So maybe it's hard to niche, but
No,
I feel like it's
agree.
so easy to get started, and you have these really cool conversations.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to convince you to do it, but it's just fun as hell.
No, it's sweet. I think doing this or writing or both is something like every entrepreneur should be doing now.
Because look, you are you're 24, right?
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. But you've amassed all of this knowledge. And I've just talked to you for the last hour today, hour yesterday. Now I know everything largely that you know about cryptos. I know now a ton of stuff about Twitter and like building a brand and building a community. I told Dylan, like, if nothing else from this podcast, to just like absorb from the people around you, it's like so cool.
Oh yeah.
Had we not talked, Ian, I would have probably never known so many of these things, and would have just never.
Yeah,
you would have still been angry about my high school friend Ian, who is into crypto, and you hate crypto. Like it's such a different world.
That's the natural reaction. No, but that's why it's so cool, right? Because arguably everyone wants to just go talk about what they're doing because like no one actually cares, and now you guys are giving people a platform to do that, and then you guys you're streamlining it. You don't have to read all my tweets. I'm just going to give you the golden nuggets right
That's
here.
why I'm not necessarily a fan, but I think Joe Rogan, right? He's probably jack of all trades, master of none, but like he knows so much just because he spends 3 hours talking to people from all over the spectrum of things you could possibly do. And like, that's all he does. And I think, Dylan, that's at some point all you want to do for the next year or two.
Well, we have our
super cool
Alex, who Henry mentioned yesterday, who's helping us, and he's into web development and stuff like that. We were talking about some ideas because we have a good content machine, if you want to call it that, with our team that's making content.
Yeah, you guys
like, sell that.
Legit stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not us. It's like we have a team in the Philippines that's awesome. Like, shout out to them.
That's sweet.
Put their stuff, but it's so cool, and he wants to basically automate it, and so he's always thinking this stuff.
Which, by the way, is something that came out as an idea from talking to someone for an hour on the podcast. Like we came up with a business right here, and it's happened like 3 or 4 times. It happened this episode. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, boom, there's business.
Well, so Ian convinced us. I'm for sure sold. Like Aptar was saying, get on Twitter. Now I'm.
Do it.
It's without a doubt. I'm getting into it. I got to find the community, but that'll happen.
Yeah.
Who do you think, Ian? Maybe the club hockey team. I got to reach out to some more guys there.
Yeah.
But who's cool or has some insights that you're surprised about that might be cool to talk to?
Yeah, I guess it depends like what kind of stuff.
I guess you're into the crypto world, and
yeah,
I don't know. We might get down a rabbit hole there.
If you can get Pruzan on the podcast, that dude's a smart dude, but he's also a chiller. So like, he's literally smart nonsense. That's literally what he is.
I still don't know if he remembers my name.
Probably not, but because he was older. But no, he's a really smart dude. He I think he's just starting at HBS actually. But he was at like a venture capital firm. He's like big into, investing. He's good. He's really good. If you want to get a creative, did you ever meet Ryan Beery?
Beery, yeah, because he was in the room where we rap battled.
Oh, he was. He rapped
my freshman year.
Exactly. That dude's a creative, crazy guy. I've never gotten in depth on how that dude works.
Dude, I don't know what that would look like. Yeah. Knowing Beery, that could be a disaster. It could be amazing.
He's like an artist, right? Like he makes like 3D renderings of like weird cups.
Yeah, he was a RISD kid.
Yeah. He could be good. I don't know. Or he could just be a weirdo. I don't know. Beery, get on the podcast.
That's the thing, because club hockey, RISD, I forget who it was from Airbnb, but they played on the team and they donated like $25,000 to our club team. Insane. That's why we're balling out on trips for a while.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good little community of people just doing things.
I'll start reaching out, being like, "Hey, Ian wanted you on the pod, and maybe you hop on to at some point." But is there anything else that we're missing, Ian? Like, what do you want the world to know that hasn't been said?
I think, the crypto talk was good. Just like giving people a taste of this, because not a lot of people hear that, but they don't know what it means. So that's a crazy world. With all this other stuff, I just, I found something that works for me. Like I'll go back. It's the process, and I'll just say that, like really, I found that works for me. Get in love with your process, and what I mean by the process is the way that you get up and work every day, and like where you do it, literally, like how you get, like what time you wake up, when you get your coffee, what are you sitting down, like what are you taking notes, like the same thing every day, and get a little bit of clarity of writing down what you want to do, and then it's just going to start happening. And that's worked for me. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that every day, or they get really obsessed with the job, or like you said, the label. And all that is going to ruin your life. Don't ever worry about that. Just do the same work the same way that works well for you every day, and you'll be surprised. And then it's, it just happens. So,
and also be present about what that is. Don't just like go with the flow and like get in your car at 8 a.m. and drive to work because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Know the reasons you're doing those things and be okay with them, or question them and change them.
Exactly.
I think
really
that's
important.
That's what's cool.
Yes.
Because people are on social media and maybe they're on Instagram. It's like, well, take your time that you use on that platform and maybe spend it on Twitter instead. And that's a lot more productive version of leisure. That's really two birds with one stone, because you're building this community around you.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the word that sums this all up is intention. Figure out what your intentions are. Like I said, sit down for a day, one day, just alone, and write it down, your intentions.
One day, yes, but people don't do it for 4 hours. Like, just take like a chunk of a day.
Take an hour. People don't do it for a second. Like,
and I'm victim there too. Like, I haven't done that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, like people plan for an hour before they go to the grocery store, but you're not going to plan for an hour for your life.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing? Like, come on. Like people will sit and plan their Call of Duty class for their gun for 30 minutes, but you won't sit down for 30 minutes and plan your life. Like, come on. So yeah, the word is intention. Figure out what those intentions are, and then be intentional with your time. And that's what I've been talking about. I rant about it. So I don't know. I think that's, my take on this. And, hopefully some people can see results with that.
That's going to be in the title of the podcast, so they'll know it's coming. And that's awesome. Ian, thanks again. Love the messages. I'm going to start hopping on Twitter now.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I want both of you hit me up on Twitter. But thanks for having me on the chat. It's super fun to chat with you guys. So it's a good time.
I know. Round 2 once we have a following there. So I'll talk to you there. Belky, see you later.
That's a deal.